welcome back to another episode of yours truly, Trisha. I have my favorite customer from my old life. For those of you who don't know, I was a pharmaceutical sales rep for 13 years at GlaxoSmithKline, and Dr. Andrew Lamb was one of my favorite customers. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Welcome.
And funny enough, I asked Dr. Lamb to come here because he has experienced a career transition. And I thought it related so much to my life because, I left pharma to do what I love. And that was working for myself, working on my personal brand. So I would love if you could quickly just do an introduction and then maybe share a little bit of your story.
Yes, I grew up in Toronto, actually born in Toronto and grew up in Toronto, educated in Toronto, U of T, all the way through medical school, residency. So, and then I did 3 years up north as part of the underserviced area program to give back to the people, right?
Yeah. Are you working on photography full time? What are you doing now with most of your time?
Well, actually, I did that all the way along because after medical school, I traveled for 4 months in Europe and took some French in Paris. That's after medical school. Then before I went up north.
Okay.
Then after up north, Initially, I planned to go 2 years and then do MBA for 1 year in Europe and travel 1 year around the world.
Okay.
So because of some financial issues I had with my sister, I did work an additional year. Originally, it was just 2 years.
Okay.
So I did 3 years to save up more money, so I abbreviated my travel to 6 months around the world.
Oh my gosh.
And no MBA.
But you were also doing photography throughout that whole time?
I like photography, but I actually went to Ryerson now, TMU, for a certificate in night school.
Get out, really?
So I did photography through there and also did continued philosophy at night school at U of T.
Okay.
And I did also fine art history and a bit of religion.
Is this recent?
That's right after medical school.
Okay.
When I came back.
Get out.
U of T. U of T. And I also did some courses at George Brown because they had the best cooking. So I did a couple courses there.
What?
That's right after medical. I came back from up north, which was just north of Sydney.
Yeah. But what made you make the decision to leave your family practice?
Well, during the pandemic, it was 24/7 work. No time to eat and no time to do other things I enjoyed, like seeing family, friends, and doing events, which I used to do.
Yeah.
Even though I was working hard.
That was your outlet.
That was my interest, right?
Yeah.
So, outside of medicine.
Yeah.
Medicine was my interest too, but I had other interests and I had to do that too.
Yeah, and you just lost, and I guess during the pandemic, you hit a burnout, and you said
burnout. Plus, there's some potential health issues for me and my parents. So, So to take time off.
Okay. And now, how do you feel most of your day? Are you going to events, taking photos, learning? What would a typical day look like for you now?
Right now, it's pretty busy with all the events and travel.
Yeah.
And taking care of my parents, taking to the hospitals because some has advocate for their health. And even with me, it's difficult.
Really?
Yes.
Even being in medicine?
Yeah, because I don't want to keep on bugging the people and saying, "Oh, when's your appointment? When's the appointment?" So, like I hated it when I was a doctor. Someone keep on calling, "Oh, when's my appointment? When's my appointment? Can you move your appointment or whatever?" So I usually let them see what happens.
Yeah.
But if a month goes by, nothing happens.
You have to follow up.
Yeah, follow up.
And your parents, how old are your parents now?
My dad is 86 and my mom's 83.
Wow.
So
that, they need someone to call and do all the things because they can't. I mean, my parents are aging parents and, I get it. So it's not easy.
So I guess everyone is having that issue with the aging parents. So.
Yeah. And there's not very many options.
No,
My parents are actually retired in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I think they have a great life out there, just given their, the cost of living is so much less and their money goes a lot further. So they have a pension and they are fine. But the challenge is my mom always wants to come back to Canada because of healthcare. But it's actually, when you think about it, and I try to explain this to them, the cost of living in Canada is actually way more. It's better if we just pay for what they need there. My mom hasn't figured that out yet.
No.
They don't see it. And I'm like, oh, and we can actually to get 24-hour care there is it's easier
Yeah.
than to get
Here, yeah.
here. It's really hard, right?
So friends and I guess previous patients have issues with the healthcare system here because they fund a lot of the hospitals. Community care is not as much.
Yeah.
And especially if you have issues with the family, you may have to hire privately.
Yeah, and that's expensive. Like, how much is that? Just so we know, I know a lot of people are, like you said, we're having aging parents, so it's how much is getting private care at home?
I think someone's mentioning, a friend of mine was saying that his mother had to go to like a nursing home. It was like, I think like 5,000 a month
or more. Yeah, I've heard like 5 to 9.
Yeah, so
for a proper
proper care.
for proper care. Yeah,
If you get in time,
if you can get in,
yeah, you can
and then
get
if you
in on your
don't,
wait list and
yeah,
whatnot.
and if you don't get in, there's you have to hire, I guess, like somebody to come to the house, personal care worker, right? Or and that would be out of pocket too,
Yeah, that's
right?
out of pocket too. So
Yeah. So I can imagine. So how, I guess, like for you, it was health that made you shift your career, and like how are you feeling now, or like what advice would you give somebody who is, considering a career change, or maybe like stopping what they're doing to follow what they love?
yeah, I'm still doing teaching medical students, so I tell them do what you love, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you have to do almost every single day of your life from now on.
Yeah.
So just follow your passion.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is what I'm doing.
Yes, like for example, her and me. Right? So
But also, Dr. Lamb, your passion is also cars. Can we just talk about that for a quick minute? Like your passion for cars.
yeah, gradually because I worked almost 6 days a week, sometimes 2 clinics a day early on in my career. So I work hard and I save
Of
my
course.
money, and I help my family too. And not so I support. I'm paying my parents' expenses, and I help my
You have your nieces, right?
9 nephews and nieces. I'm paying
Yeah.
for their education, RESP, right? So it's not like I'm just hoarding money for myself and spending on luxuries for myself, but I'm trying to be prudent.
How has your perspective on life changed after making this decision to leave your practice and focus on the things that you truly love and your passions and hobbies?
Well, before I didn't expect to sort of retire or stop clinical practice
Yeah.
as early because most doctors continue working
Yeah.
because that's all they know.
Yeah.
And I guess some of them say they enjoy it, but they don't actually quit. They
They
actually
keep,
go down part-time and then
yeah.
eventually they die.
Yeah.
So
Because
that's
they'll still do like some hours, right?
because they know other life because that's
All they
their whole
know.
life, right?
Yeah.
Medicine.
So how has that changed your perspective on your life? So
And now
would you say that,
I guess more travel. I like
amazing.
now the bucket list stuff, right? Because some of them have age limits, so you have to be
Right.
there. Like
You're
Machu
not
Picchu is
jumping out of a plane at
yeah.
75. Or I guess you could.
You could,
You could.
you
That's a lie. You could.
could. With the moon or whatever, you can do that.
Yeah.
As long as you
What
have the
is one
money.
thing that you've accomplished on your bucket list earlier, now that you are
Okay.
kind of, you're working for yourself? What have you accomplished? Like, what's one thing on your bucket list that you've actually are proud to say you've accomplished?
I just came back from Argentina and Patagonia, which is
Wow.
actually tougher than because here, like you go to Banff or go to the Alps or whatever, the path is very easy to go
Yeah.
up to climb on trek. But there, actually, the last it's 5 kilometers to get to the peak, but the last kilometer is like 600 meters vertical.
What?
So,
You did that?
I did that, but I had to do it in the time constraints too, so I had to do faster.
Why time constraints?
Because I only had a certain number of time
Really?
there. So, but you see people with the trekking poles, so it helps them, or
Yeah.
groups, so they
Okay.
help each other. But I was going solo, so I
Wow.
had to be careful too. I didn't want to injure myself and not be able
Yeah.
to travel, do climbing for the next month. Right?
Yeah, that's so
Okay,
I
thank
didn't
you.
know that you do that. That you
So
climb.
it's not climbing, but it's just trekking up the boulders and all that. So before I used to do rock climbing and all that,
Yeah.
but
Do you what is one thing on your bucket list that you still haven't done but hope to do in the next year or two?
I'm trying to plan for Machu Picchu
Wow.
and maybe Africa with South Africa, Victoria Falls, and safari. And
Oh,
so
that's so good. I asked then, what is your next like big thing, project that you're working on, or can you tell
actually,
us?
I do more travel, like a bucket list thing,
Yeah.
because if you go into retirement, the first couple years is when you're probably going to have your health,
Yeah.
right? further along, you don't know you'll be alive. Because some people, they work out through life to try to travel when they're older, but they might not survive.
Yeah.
Or they might not have the health.
Yeah.
And not be able to travel. Right?
But I have to say, when you were working, you were traveling still.
I know, yeah.
You were very lucky because I remember
enjoyed
going and you would tell me you were traveling. So, that's not a lot of physicians could do that.
no.
So, and they wouldn't do it. So,
But some of them have family,
yes.
and now there's mortgages, right? So luckily
Yeah.
I bought before and
Yes.
I'm okay with that. But these days it's hard.
It's hard, yeah.
Tuition's way up to 25,000 a year for medical school.
I have 2 daughters, so don't tell me that.
And then they're like in debt 200,000.
It's wild, yeah.
And then they have if they want to
The
buy a
student
house.
loan. We can't afford living in the city. It's impossible.
So
I mean, not impossible.
Financially, it's
but
more
hard.
difficult before, and plus the pay for doctors come down in terms of inflation.
Well, things have changed too with medicine now because there's all the family health groups and the networks. And I mean, I don't know much about it now, but I think it's changed. Even my physician, I can't I can't, there's no physical reception. I have no physical receptionist. I can't email.
Okay.
Everything is virtual. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's not like, I'm like, I wish I could just walk in like I used to and talk to doctors. No, you can't. No. Very different.
I guess it's different. But I think right now, because it's going through electronic medical records, it's actually everything goes to the doctor. Before at my clinic, there's nurses and nurses reception.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of the admin, and
So
they
now
would
it's straight to
triage
you
it to
guys?
us. But now everything goes to us,
That's a lot.
and then we have to triage
Wow,
after.
that's
So
backwards.
that's actually more work, right?
That's more work for you. Well, I think you made a good decision, and I appreciate you coming in, and thank you for sharing your new career. I can't wait to see your adventures online, especially the travel stuff. Hopefully, I can see your cars again.
Yeah, thank you, and I hope
we're gonna
see
hang
you again.
Of course, but thank you so much for
Sooner
coming
than
on.
a couple
Yeah,
years.
a few years. I know, right? You have
I briefly saw you at eight at least.
Yeah, I did see you. That's right. That was the first time in so long. I was like, oh my God, it made me so happy. So, so thank you so much.
I'm glad you invited me.
Oh my God, thank you.